Hey, hello. I am doing the exact same thing that I've been doing on my last two streams, and that's just working away at this, making it hopefully look a little bit better over time. And I've really not done. I've done some work outside these streams. You know, the assets do take um, assets take a while to make. So really, whether I'm doing it on stream or not, just doing it's quite a lot of work. It's long work. So I figure why not put it on stream and just sort of still be going through the same stuff. I'm not doing anything new, but that's why I call it a a Q&A live stream anyway, because at the very least I can pretty much just answer questions to do with 3D and and sculpting and art and whatever to do with Unreal, Blender, Substance, and so on, workflows. And I guess that just keeps it a little bit more interesting for me while I'm just doing what I would normally be doing while watching like a Netflix show or just YouTube. Um, so it keeps it just a little bit, well, because I pretty much, because I do end up on YouTube and Netflix so much, I've pretty much got nothing that I end up wanting to watch. So uh, although I am halfway through the new Castlevania, so I have got that to watch. It's pretty good. But yeah, this just feels a bit different. It feels good just to, um, and no one's given any feedback or told me that I should be doing things in a different way so far. But if anyone wanted to, then if I was doing this in a completely wrong way to how they think it should be done, then obviously I'd like to just kind of hear what people think in terms of if I can improve my workflows and so on. Let's get this a little bit messed up so that I can come back in and this one's actually still low res, and I've hidden. Um, I say low res. It has got a lot of polys in it, but it's lower res, and I've hidden the ones that I've already sculpted on. Um, yeah, that's good enough. So I've hidden the ones I've already sculpted on, but ideally I would still bool these together because this was a test. This one, like quite an early test for booling things together. So you can see here that I've merged multiple rocks, and that's how I'm getting these sharp edges, which is but they're not infinitely sharp in terms of the inner edges here, which are very hard to create naturally by sculpting. They're not super sharp as if it was different objects like between these two, but so it is still forming part of the same rock, which I guess is kind of how things would be. But sometimes there's cracks, or sometimes I guess rocks obviously don't overlap in real life. But I'll tell you what I haven't opened is my reference. Open my reference real quick. Be on a different screen, but I can bring it onto this one in case people haven't seen it. There we go. That's the reference, and now it goes away because it's just going to be on the other screen. I suppose there is quite a lot more detail than I'm sort of giving it credit for. I keep saying that it's like, oh, taking away detail because it's not there in the reference, but actually there is quite a bit. Now that I mean, this is a few weeks later. I don't know when my last stream was, but I know it was a while ago. Maybe if I'm only doing this on the weekends, it was probably 2 weeks ago. The other stream, 3 weeks. So clearly, I've really not done that much outside of the streams, as I'm still carrying on, just messing about with the actual base shapes, and this one still needs to be made high poly. But this is an example of one that's quite a bit larger. So when I actually do subdivide this, I imagine Blender's not going to be very happy. I haven't actually checked whether like my audio or anything like that is working. I'm assuming my audio is working because there's like 2 people here or something like that passively watching and not complaining about no audio or anything like that. So that's pretty good. And actually, that's the reason that I've not really been streaming that much or doing any artwork is Resident Evil Village. Been doing the Mercenaries mode. Straighten this out. Okay, I think I can pinch some of these edges. Try and straighten this out, and I don't think I'm going to retopologize, even though I've been sculpting. I mean, I'm not gonna hit it with an auto retopology thing just to sort of poly that or anything like that, because it'll make the edges less sharp. And since I'm already sharpening them, I don't want to then make them less sharp by just going in and auto topologizing it again. I forgot what it's called. Remesh. Just remeshing. Okay, so I think at this point I can add a multi-resolution. And now that that's subdivided, I can just hit save real quick and head back to sculpt mode and do the same thing all over again, not with pinch, but with some of this to try and really sharpen up those things. I've got it partly, I mean, I started off with this having not really sculpted with these tools very much in Blender. So like when, I've learned it a little bit, I've done some tutorials and so on beforehand. But I started off in the, having not sculpted in a while, not used these tools very much. But the good thing about picking an object like this, where it's loads of it, is just the exact same shape over and over again. So I'm not, like I'm working on this rock right now, but I can see that I've got at least 4 more that I've got to do the exact same workflow on. But I don't mind that because I guess over time, so like the overall piece probably isn't going to suffer, but the first ones that I did are going to be of a lesser quality unless I start rushing. I would assume that the first ones that I did are going to be of a lesser quality than these ones that I'm looking at right now. Um, and so it's you're just getting better by making one piece and like one overall piece, but you're getting better as you do it because it is still just a learning thing for me. Moved out quite a bit, so I'm going to just do the usual mesh filter. Mesh filter, surface smooth, and actually relax is the one. The surface smooth and relax. That should sort out the polygons that we can't actually see at the moment because it's quite small. I'm just going to spread them out a little bit. I don't think there's too much more I want to do to this one specifically. There's a little bit at the back. It's quite a large one. It was a test. It's the bottom. at the back. I'm going to unhide the other stuff in a minute. I don't mind that being messed up either. I'm going to unhide the other ones after I've done these, and we'll see some of the stuff that I did off stream, because mainly it was just really slow because of the poly counts. I was doing a lot of booleans with these, and because I was booleing like stuff that was multi-level subdivision and stuff. No, all right, started raining over here. Hopefully my NVIDIA broadcast is cancelling out this rain. I'm going to just check. Can't see Streamlabs. Yeah, if my voice sounds a bit muffled, it's because there's a lot of rain in the background. Jesus. Try turning one of those off for a little bit, see if it can, what it does. So I've pretty much only been using the one mode, because a lot of it was already laid out for me. I'm not sure that I can go, or that I want to go much further with that one, so I'm gonna go back to object mode, hide, save, and I'm going to use the grab tool on this one just to, it's just too close to the other one, and it's not really overlapping properly, even though I think there might be another one on top of this. We'll find out. Might as well make it look good for how it is at the moment. And maybe that's another thing I would do if this was like a game asset, which obviously this isn't going into a game, so it's not a game asset, but I'll be making it like it is one. But if this was a real game asset and I wanted variations, then I would just be able to hide different variations of the main one at the moment and then sculpt them differently, and that would be a pretty cool way to create variations without tons of effort, before the thing gets combined into one, before I end up getting too late on in this and just combining things together. And mess up the surface quite a bit, and then I'll change it back to the other trim mode so that I can sort of follow the we'll retouch that one, and then going from quite quick actually. So that's kind of what I was saying earlier. Like as things get further along, it can be tempting just to rush. But this was quite a small asset overall. Overall, this one is a bit smaller than the others, so that other one was still quite. Still going through it fairly randomly and quite quickly. But I think the randomness helps with the randomness is all part of it being a rock. And just kind of chipping away at it and smoothing off edges and chipping away edges from sort of a general shape, a larger shape, because that's kind of like that's just how rocks are. But if this, I guess, adding adding cracks and stuff would be good. And actually, I might just try something out right now. What you can do is, if I get the mask filter, you can just mask part of it, and then you can just maybe mesh filter it, and kind of making this up right now, but I feel like you can just not that isn't necessarily what I was thinking. I guess it would just be scale it down slightly. Then that would require some kind of retopology. I clear the mask now. Got that sort of thing going on. I guess I'll mesh filter it again and go with a relax to try and bring those polys back to how they are, and maybe a slight smooth without going too crazy. And that's obviously a very straight line, so I wonder if I can just pinch that away. Not really working. Worth a quick test though. Obviously, if you did that, if I did the same thing but more, if I did the same thing that I just tried then, but if I did it more, not globally like I have here, which is like so all over it, it's gotten scaled. If I just did that like more locally, with a brush as well, like literally just get like the mask brush, get area, sharpen it, and get like the layer tool or something like that, and then just like just a normal clay, not that one. And sort of create something that might be a little bit more natural. Obviously, I didn't put much thought into the shapes, but already, I guess, like if this was a more realistic rock and it required details, I feel like that would be a good way to go about it. I think a lot of my details are just going to be in whatever texture I put on top of this, which isn't really going to be, so it isn't going to be super, not really a lot of detail on that either. Maybe like a little crinkled normal to like add extra normal detail here and there, or like or in the sculpting pass I could probably just go over it with like a crinkled, what in Designer it would be called directional, one of the directional ones. Could go over it with like one of them, and that would make it look like folded paper kind of, but for the actual style with the polygons the way that they are. Maybe it would work either as an alpha or just something, because it's going to get baked down into the surface anyway, so maybe as an alpha or as a sculpt or as something inside Painter as well. Either of them could probably work. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah, I'll have enough of that one for now. Hide that one, at least 3 more to go. Check the resolution on this. Let's go 0. It's higher, strangely. Yeah, let me just apply the scale. See if that changes anything. Oh well, it's not that bad. It's quite. So I guess I could do what I was just talking about right now and just something that I haven't done everywhere else, but mask this edge. Use A to sharpen the mask a little bit. Increase the contrast, so bring it out to the edges. And then just maybe still going with the scrape tool, but on this lower ledge to try and level that out. Actually, it might not be too bad to do it around the back here as well. Right, it's literally the same thing that I'm doing the whole time, but I am getting closer to the end of it. So, in terms of sculpting the surfaces, I'm getting closer to getting that done. So if I can get that in good shape in the next little bit, like next like half an hour or so to get these rocks into good shape and just check out the other ones, make sure everything's looking good, then I'll probably move on to some other steps for sure. Okay, I'm gonna go. This is quite a small one, so maybe I'll just scale it slightly with the mesh filter, and then I will add the modifier on. So that's what I mean, really. It's just a lot of the exact same stuff over and over again, just as it has been on the other streams. But I, I don't mind streaming, streaming it, even though it's the same thing. It just kind of shows that, if I came back if I had come back right now having worked on it, which I haven't, but if I'd come back and worked on it for like several hours offline, then I guess a lot of people might just think, oh well, one stream here and then comes back later and it's completely finished, or like he's done all that sculpting, and then it gets a bit confusing maybe for people if they look at the stream and they think, right, well, only an hour of streaming here and then suddenly it's gone to this result here, it can't take them that long. It warps the perception of how long it takes to create something. And also it frees me up to try things out on stream like I would if I was off stream, and just completely make mistakes, and just like I'm being really lazy with this, so I'm being really lazy and I'm not using any of the tools. I'm not really changing I'm not changing some of these settings that I should be, and maybe that later on maybe that'll become very apparent and make it look not very good. So maybe I'll have to come back to stuff if it doesn't look very good. That's kind of what I'm accepting at the moment, and that's and that's what's going to happen on stream if it does, regardless of whether I come back later and just pretend that like it was all smooth sailing and I created this, hopefully what's going to look good in the end, because I'm still not quite sure. Yeah, like it didn't just come out of thin air basically. So yeah, same sort of stuff. Although I kind of like this one with its the smaller ones kind of do come together with their shapes a lot quicker. It's a very small one. I'm kind of like, I don't really want to change that. I feel like it's looking pretty good, or at least as good as the other ones. Okay, 2 more now. This one really hasn't had much work done on it, not even on the early stages. So if I get this solution, that one probably hasn't had scale applied either, which does affect sculpting. Applying the scale does affect the size of the brush. Like if I scale this way out like this and I try to sculpt on it, then you can see that the brush is getting warped. So if I've been sculpting on some of this without applying scale, now it's a circle again, then that can affect things quite a lot. And maybe I have been, because I've not really been, because it seems like a lot of these later ones haven't had the scale applied to them, so I'm imagining a lot of the earlier ones also haven't had the scale applied to them. Which I'm imagining a lot of my audience here is Blender users, but applying the scale is just applying the X form, although I think calling it apply scale and calling it apply scale and actually seeing that it resets the scale and makes it affects the scale in the way that it does is actually a lot easier to understand than resetting the X form. Because what does resetting the X form actually mean if you're not a 3D person, which you probably aren't if you don't know what resetting you're just getting into it basically. And then you see like in other software like 3ds Max, reset X form, or in Maya it's like delete history or whatever. I find both of them quite hard to understand. Like I wouldn't know I never know when to delete history in Maya, and then if something's going wrong, then it's like, fine, just delete history. That's probably going to solve it. Which is the same in Max. If something's going wrong, then applying X form, you're like, right, well that's probably going to solve it. I'm going to do it. And then in Blender, it is still the same thing. Like if something's going wrong, check apply scales. But that's the only one that to me, apply scale just it's a more basic language, and it's just easy to understand, really, isn't it? Applied scale. In comparison to the other ones. But that's because I guess there's a lot more going on. Yep, yep, it has. It's probably been like 3 weeks or more. But I've not really, I've not been. I haven't been working every waking moment on this. I've got other things I've been doing, playing games. A lot of stuff going on at work, basically, as well, that I have been doing. And since my job is obviously doing 3D work and also doing it on your weekends and your spare time, you just you just can't always be bothered, I suppose. But yeah, especially when games like uh, Resident Evil Village has come out. I've got Game Pass and like EA Play, so like there's loads of good stuff on there at the moment, and like there's still loads of games in my backlog that I've just not played. Um, so really, I should just be playing like Death Stranding right now because I paid for it, and it's a good game that I want to play. But I end up just I end up playing other things like Rocket League and Smite. Um, I sell tutorials, and I sell some stuff on ArtStation, which I'll link there. So I sell tutorials that are actually edited, and I probably made them a lot quicker as well. I probably made those tutorials within the time that I've been offline creating this, but that's just kind of how it goes sometimes, I suppose. Um, but yeah, I sell tutorials mainly on there, some substances, uh, and some Unreal scenes. But I don't sell like a. I'm not sure that I sell just a model. I think maybe I do just sell the model for the aircraft pushback tractor thing. This is becoming too detailed, so I just want to turn it into some large surfaces. Okay, not much going on with this one. I'm just going to kind of zigzag down it to try and mess things up a little bit. It's acting too much. Oh, let's trim. So like I was saying right at the start of the stream, pretty much this asset, all I'm really doing with it is working. All I've really done with it is work on stream, you know. So if you see 2 weeks without a stream, most likely I've just been playing games or I've been doing extra work on other projects, you know. But this one and all this sort of practice sculpting stuff, generally it's a Q&A where you can just uh, questions as long as, and I'll mostly just talk about answers rather than actually, you know, doing them. I'm not going to be doing things while I'm working on sculpting, unless it's like not too far out of my way. But if there's any like general 3D questions about any sort of area that it looks like I've worked on, then I'll answer that. Oops. Yeah. But I'm almost done. Like I'll unhide this and I'll touch up areas that look a bit rubbish, and then the sculpt side of things will be finished, which isn't almost done. That's almost ready to move away from sculpting. I don't know how long the actual designer side of things is going to take. I still haven't decided if I want to stream that specifically because my other video for that was quite popular, and you know, if I'm working, um, I might just have to decide how I want to sort of make that available to people. If I'm going to put a lot of work into it and make it public, then obviously compensation is nice. Um, really just thinking about how that's going to go down. Because generally, if I offer something up for, you know, on a store or a tutorial that's offline, then generally it's I try it. I've put a lot of work into it, and I want to make sure that it's a high quality. Whereas I keep my YouTube channel for like specific things that I'm thinking about, and if anyone, you know, it's the kind of thing that hopefully someone realizes they need something, Googles and finds my video and just and then like, right, well, yeah, I'll put this on for a little bit, and it'll just generally cover little things. I'm just covering little problems and um, little things that maybe an intermediate person would um, find and just like it'd be exactly what they need for help. Uh, um, because really, I'm just doing my own thing, and then if I come across something that I just think is interesting along the way, then I'll try and make a video on it and so on. I think that's pretty cool as far as this rock's concerned. Ready to move on. It's going to be a lot of polys. Nearly there now. Again, if anyone's like thinks like, well, it's taken, like whether I don't know what people think, whether it's this is taken longer than it, or if I'm just covering the same thing. Again, sort of the point is just that it's me showing sort of as much of the workflow as possible. Um, and if you've got questions, you can ask them. Otherwise, I'm going to periodically just be repeating the same thing uh, because people are kind of dropping in and out, So I'll end up, if anyone's been sat here the whole time, I've probably said the same thing over and over again. Um, but if people have been just dropping in and out, then it's a general sort of me sculpting, doing whatever I'm doing with this asset, and a Q&A, or just if you're working right now on something and you're like, I don't know what to do with it, then questions, general questions are always good. If you catch someone online like this, asking questions and just uh, talking about the thing that you're working on or what's stopping you from working on it and so on. Okay, I'll apply the subdiv to this. I always think that that's going to mess up my voice when the computer's sort of chugging away at subdividing or something like that. So I always try and uh, keep quiet, time to take a drink. I've got this on normal only at the moment, so it is chipping away. For anyone that hasn't seen sort of earlier ones, yeah, just like the normal mode, chips away at it quite nicely, and so like situations like this can get sorted out pretty nice. Maybe I'll round the corner a little bit here, and then I'll pretty much just straighten these out, and I'll call it a day. I'll zoom out, look at the whole thing, see if it's all sort of feeling good. Edge is a bit too sharp. Hit this one with the mesh filters, relax, and surface smooth. Let's get rid of some of those obvious stepping lines. Uh, which I've added back in straight away. So I've started sculpting again, just randomly, and I've added in those things that I just smoothed out straight away. Yeah, I'll cut off this edge actually. Cut off that corner, and then pretty much just call it a day. Okay, I'm going to unhide this, see if it breaks. Move this one up slightly. I get to delete that now. That block there is what I used for booleans. This I did do off camera because, as I said earlier, it was very laggy. It did cause it to lag quite a bit to create these cuts. And actually, the only reason that I created those cuts is so that I could. Oh, and it's really nice. Yeah, keep joining objects in Blender. It keeps the face sets per object separate. So I separated these, I joined them, and then I went in with a normal, the same old trim brush that I've been using this entire time. But I can limit that per face set. Face sets. Wait, is that boundary? Did I say boundary? Mesh boundary. Face sets. And then I can just create these sort of, like, I could, if I really wanted, just trim that there, turn both these off maybe to make it normal trim dynamic, and just create more of a just a divide between these. Probably messing up what I already had. And then my idea would be to remesh this at the same resolution. I'm just going to apply scale to make sure. I'm not sure whether this is going to mean that I need to sculpt some of this again. Hopefully not. Maybe I'll check the settings a little bit. So I'm going to just remesh it now, see what happens. So now it's all combined into one, but the details that I've gained by doing that, if I just use like a fill tool, that fill, deepen. Yeah, it's like a fill for those. So I'm going to fill in that gap where it doesn't look very good. Smooth it out. And I think after that retopology, I don't really need to sculpt anymore, but I can, I just can't be bothered. But I can just sharpen it or enhance details actually. Let's take that as far as it will go, see what happens. I'm just going to sharpen things up, sharpen. A little bit of that, and a little bit of tiny bit of inflation in the opposite way. And yeah, like I haven't done a very good job, but the idea would be that it fills in places like that, because what I was really struggling with at the end of that last stream, so what I basically just tested was how to create gaps like that, and like that specifically, like sculpting in that area right now would be very difficult, other than like deepening that. Other than deepening that divide, actually sculpting in that area right now would be very difficult. So like, I should have backed up my model or whatever. So I'm gonna save this as a copy. And again, my ideal scenario here would be to join all this together and remesh it. That's what I'm going to try. Hide my lighting and such. So I'm probably going to lose detail, but I'm going to hopefully keep those the inner edges sharp without. We'll try it. We'll try it. See what happens. It's going to change this one a little bit. Rotate it maybe. Yeah, so we'll try it. I'll save. I'll even just duplicate this. And now that it's fully loaded, because a lot of polys is making it quite difficult, we're going to want to join these together on this, because I backed it up, I fully backed up. And I guess I'm going to want to join it to this one. Oops. I realised I'd forgotten something. So it joined it, but it's probably undone a lot of the sculpting that I did. But we wait. Okay, so that's finally done. Probably should just duplicate it. So now what I'm going to do is press Ctrl A and go Visual Geometry to Mesh. Press everything. Okay, and that was fairly quick. And the join shouldn't be too bad. Now it's joined. And so now we finally go into sculpt mode again. And I'm going to take a lot more detail and round it up to those. And we'll try it once, see what it looks like. And then if it removes too much detail, then I'll try a smaller number. Okay. So now it's all one big mass of sculpt. I think the detail's fine. Maybe it is looking a little bit blobby. So Take it back to sculpt mode and mesh filter it again. It's the only way that I can think to solve some of this. And if this doesn't work in general, I do obviously still have those backups. But I'd say for a big lump of rock, that might be okay. See it in the rendered view. I can imagine that this is looking good. How do I turn those off? No, I don't know. I imagine this is looking pretty good if it was retopologized and all that. So maybe that's what I'll do real quick. I say real quick. It's going to take a while to retopologize maybe, but I will give it a go. I'm going to swap to a different blender to do that. So I'm going to hide my screen for a moment. If I can remember that, be right back. okay. It took a while to open, and also I was opening up different blenders because some of them have retail, some of them have this stuff that I need on, and some don't. So right now, that's what we're looking at. Take it back to a normal view, and I will generally use this software that I paid for and haven't used that much because it's really good, but I just haven't had enough reasons to use it. Hopefully this doesn't crash or anything like that because again the file just takes a while to open. It's going to be an update maybe. Yeah, so I haven't used, so I really should look like a tutorial for a refresher on this software, but I'll work it out. I guess what I want is, say I'll work it out, but I can't see any of these creating anything at the moment, so we'll go with tweak. Nope. Poly strips. Feel like it should be drawing on the surface. Ah, got hold control. Makes sense. Yeah, so really it's going to be polypen, which is sort of your default it really is sort of the default poly creator thing. But I think the way that, what the software offers is just, everything looks nice while you're working on things. And if I weren't doing this, then I'm going to try out a few different tools anyway. I should do it like that. So this tool obviously works really well if there's an area that I feel like needs moving or whatever, then you can do that. Obviously, that tool seems to be working pretty well. And then loops tool is an easy way to add more topology in if needed. I feel like I'm not, and I can slide that if I need. Maybe these ones shouldn't be so big, although actually the surface is quite flat, so maybe they don't need to be taken down too much. I'm going to try some of the other tools like poly strips. If I select this edge here, apparently I can't, so I select the polygon and draw around there. Does an alright job. I can just should be able to like scroll my wheel. Yeah, if I hold shift, I can lower them, and then it's still going to take, it's quite quick to lay out stuff like that, but overall I'm going to end up having to move things by hand, so that's how that is. Let's can go around the top. And I guess the concentration of detail as far as retopology goes is going to be all over the place because I've got a big flat surface here, so there's no need to just have loads of detail. I'm going to use the loops tool to match the number of loops on both sides. Looks like I can increase, can add an extra loop here perhaps. Had a counter on there, but this is looking like a little loop in here would do. Maybe 2 loops to account for those 2. Right, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then there is a tool that should fill in this entire space. And I think it's the patches tool. So if I select 4 of those, and I select 3 of each, straight in like that. Left click, I imagine. Left click, right click. Enter. Just enter apparently. And then select these 2. Enter. That'll be fine like that. The relax tool is just good for just running it over a polygon like that. That doesn't necessarily need to follow. A lot of these interior ones here don't need to follow anything other than the topology of what you've created. And where's that other tool? There was a tool, I think it's probably the contours, where maybe I can just select an edge. Oh no, it's not the contours. There's one where I can just select an edge and it would detect this side wall as well. That do it? It's not done it because something I'm doing isn't correct, but I'd like to work out what that is. So I can't remember. I feel like there's another pen tool that I'm just, maybe it's that one that I'm thinking of. I selected those and I draw one like this. There you go, that's the one that I was thinking of then. Poly pen, just to move this around a little bit. Makes things really easy. So it looks like I should be able to just do poly strips off this one. Although the width of it's all wrong. pretty cool though. So I'm just going to do polypen instead. And I guess the shape that I've created the shape that I've created is very difficult. Like I've already got a point here that's not necessarily that good. So I wonder how I can. I'll just delete that one, right? Delete the face of that one. And somehow fix it. Somehow, oh yeah. So I guess, no, because that wouldn't really fix it. Situation like that. That one as well. I guess it would be a loop, an extra loop in here, maybe. And this one can carry on like that, and then this one can carry on like that. And that stops that issue, I suppose. Not that I am too bothered, because this doesn't need to animate. It doesn't need to do anything. Another one around here, and off this one. Because there's two ridges, I'm going to try and follow both ridges. It's a definite ridge along there, so I'm going to want to and most of this is first pass as well. It's been ages since I've re-apologized, so pretty much whatever I'm doing is going to be probably not very good. I was going to say I'll finish this one, but the whole thing's now one piece, isn't it? So finishing one here is well, there isn't one. It is all one thing. Right. Probably be like that. Where I want to round this edge into so that this goes around. following the shape, so it's going to crash. If it crashes, then that's the end. Alright, I should save. Quick little save. Wait. Okay, that's fine. I'm creating some crazy shapes, but it's about really just following definitely more about just following the outlines at the moment, so a lot of this inner stuff doesn't matter. So smoothing it out is quite alright. Oops, that one went a bit crazy. And Blender has its own relax smooth thing going on. But this this add-on makes it really difficult to swap to a different mode, so I'd have to lock this in, swap, and then swap back, and by the time I've done that I might have broken it, and then I'd have to do retopology on a separate section. And overall, I'm just saying that it makes it a bit difficult to go from retopologizing with this to sculpt smoothing, which is like maybe a more advanced way of smoothing out the object. And so I might as well just use their internal, the add-on's internal tool. Not the ideal shape that I want right here, but it does follow the outline of the mesh, so I can't really do too much with it. And that follows all that quite well, allowing me just to continue probably with another layer here. I just carry on. But at the very least, whether I use the merged mesh or not, it does allow me to use this tool to retopologize the whole thing, which is useful. I'm going to carry this on straight down so that I can finish it off on the bottom. So that's the end of one loop. And I'm just kind of naturally following all the edges. I'm not really too bothered about. So I've gotten, and also I've gone, the polygons are getting way smaller around here because it's just more detail. And I can always remove polygons quite easily later on. Or add more. I guess that one would go up like that, would be good. And back to itself. So yeah, I've probably added way too many polygons in here. But right now, that's kind of looking all, that's looking all right. But I guess I really need that loop so I can bring this one there, create a new one here, and I should be able to fill this in quite nicely. Is it the patches tool? Strokes? So if I select all of those and all of these, okay, apparently it doesn't work like that, and then draw between those two. It did not work. That's what the patches tool's for. Right, so I should patch from there to there, and there. It's 7 on that side though. So I'll delete that. And I'm going to move these along. So I go 6. It's definitely not automatically detecting that. But that will do for now, because then I can just hopefully drag that onto that and it merges. And these middle ones don't really make it. Oh, okay, it really doesn't like that. So it's still detecting them as different. Okay, now they're merged. And they're merged. Relax tool is going insane. Oh, now it's. Oh. Okay, it's good enough. I think I'll probably just sort of call it a day soon on this sort of thing, but I'll follow up through all this section around the front, and then, I've got tons more to do. Still wondering whether I've gone into too much detail on the topology too soon, but that's again just comes down to me not being that experienced with it all. This should be real quick if I just follow that straight down. Kind of get a view of this. It's not doing it perfectly, is it? That can be. Ooh. Actually be quite small. I guess I can just carry that on. Until I hit that. Which is sort of where things converge. And I guess I can just carry that on too. So I want a new loop there. Briefly join these back up and then carry on around the bottom. And even after all this, the topology is still going to be like shrink wrapped perhaps to the object. So that just means that it's going to follow the surface as closely as possible, if in case there's areas that are just too far away or not so good. I think that last little bit that I did looked pretty good. I reckon I could also pretty much just follow this along the edge as well. Oops, little lag. It's going to go down, but I kind of want to keep them square. So it's going to follow that along until that point, and then I'll make that join somewhere around here, and I'll do another one for that edge. Right along. Don't know whether that's an ideal shape or not. Probably not. But if that was on the edge, then this, I guess I'm going to delete that vertice. I guess one side's just got a win in terms of how that's joined together. And I think, I don't know if anyone else has done root topology that much, but I think this is going, I think the ease of use of these tools is obviously making it go much quicker than it would if 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 I weren't using them. If I was just using default tools on which this sort of thing does exist, you can do this exact workflow on any software by default, pretty much. But the add-on that I've got, it makes the visuals work straight away. I tried to do it the old-fashioned way previously in Blender, and you spend ages just setting up actually how the mesh looks. So you spend a longer time just setting up than you do retopologizing, and even then it doesn't work as well as you might want it to. I could probably carry this onto that edge. Let me get full poly. Make them. And thankfully, for the way that I've already created it, I can create a short little loop here, and mostly my loops aren't looking that bad. It's not a thing that's going like it's not wrapping all the way around the mesh. And hopefully the relax tool isn't going to go crazy. Alright, so the relax tool doesn't work very well. The one in Blender default does work great. I'll relax some of them. And this is looking perfect to just join back in like that. It has created a point there that probably isn't recommended. But I don't know whether I'm too fussed. Spread these out a little bit along this edge. I've got quite a lot of polygons going around here, which for the moment it's going to have to follow this one a little bit. Yeah, so those two can connect like that. That looks pretty good. And then I guess I'm just going to, this next one just has to go into the next one. Which means these are generally, so that means I can start swapping to the other tool now. because I'm filling this in. I'm sure there's an even faster way of doing this, but for right now, it's starting to look like that is it. Or how to join them. Polypen again. Join those ones. And those ones. These ones. And now we've got ourselves a little bit of a mess, which I think can be solved with that one being split. And that's already a lot of topology at the top there. Because for every ring loop that I add, for every ring loop that I add to this, I'm adding more elsewhere. So let's have a look. Straight down here, I guess. Looking pretty good. Maybe I could just delete that verse C. Oops. And delete that one because that's looking pretty good to join that way. Still gonna have to smooth this out. And that's not looking very good. Yeah, but those two are. Very similar situation. Which wasn't always the annoyance with topology. Like you can solve it later on. You can solve it in some points, but then it just kind of then I mean you move you're just shifting it further down the chain. Ideally this would go straight up, I suppose. So it's how needed is this, which is pretty needed. That's not looking very good from earlier on. Just delete them for now. Just a surface, so oops, they can connect. I don't see any reason why I can't have a triangle. Because I mean it's just a natural object. The object itself. Yeah, I'm not going to use their relax tool. I'm going to use the blender one afterwards. Just going to have a triangle, unfortunately. For now, at least. If I end up adding another loop later on and it hits that triangle, then I can fix it. These just don't need to be pulled down really. Just going to fill it in with this, which arguably doesn't need to exist either. worked out. Which requires relaxing later on. Oops, not merging them. And really, with all that sort of going on, I don't know whether that looks messy or not. I mean, it's meant to generally follow the flow of the object, so I don't know how messy it can be. You know, it's following the flow of the object, which is contributing towards it looking more messy, I think. But really, because it's a natural object, this is the best way to preserve the. It's going to preserve the silhouette in the end, and it's going to hopefully just work out. Getting quite pinched here. Don't know whether I can divert some of these elsewhere. I'll move some of these around. Connect that one over here instead. Spread them out. This is looking like it's going to line up pretty well with that, so I don't need to create too many loops down here. Like that. Those two are very close together, but that kind of is because it follows the topology. So I'm going to curve some of these downwards. I'll curve that so this the actual way that goes now is a bit more circular, and it's not gonna go crazy. Just kind of capping it off basically. And I can just continue these downwards. With one more loop in here. Move this closer to the edge. This is retopo flow. It's not. It's a paid add-on, and it's by the CG Cookie guys. So it's CG Cookie, and there's a guy that you can follow on Twitter as well for updates. And they make a cool tool. It solves a lot of the issues. It's not perfect, but they are updating it quite a lot. And I bought it just before they updated to 3.0, which is a good good update. I think it wasn't amazing before the 3.0 update, but now it's like it still had a lot of the same tools, but they've really done a focus on like UI, much like Blender, and it's its own section, and it's just I think it's pretty cool. I just bought it randomly when I was just thinking about working on some character stuff. Didn't really end up doing that too much, but uh, it's a good tool for just whatever really. All the topology related things. They they probably make they might make a standalone version. I'm not sure, but this is integrated into Blender. There might be like a standalone software. I mean, it is CG Cookie, and that company is heavily on the Blender side of tutorials, I think. Um, and I guess what they've noticed is just like, and they've sort of found a niche of Blender where they've made like probably one of the better retopology tools. Um, and it, I feel like it matches or surpasses a lot of the industry standard retopology tools. Especially with it being integrated into the 3D software and not external. Whether they make an external one or not, it's quite easy to work with. Um, and as far as I'm aware, they're still throwing updates out all the time. I'm just it does break every time Blender doesn't every time Blender updates, much like quite a few add-ons do. But that's just a problem with Blender updating so often, which isn't really a problem, I suppose. It's just it's good that they don't Blender doesn't try and accommodate everyone at once, um, in because that can also halt development. So like as much as annoying it is annoying that say if I have this software and it breaks on the next update of Blender, and then the developers have to put time into making sure that it works. Um, as annoying as that is on their side of things, it's also whatever Blender's changing, you'd think that it's worth the hassle, because there's definitely things that they could update, like if they they're coming out with like Cycles X. If that broke all my rendering add-ons, I'd be like, fair enough. Uh, Cycles X is pretty good, or it's looking pretty good. So them breaking it is fine. Add an extra loop here because I just don't think I can bridge that gap. I'm definitely going to have to call it on the stream soon. That was created like that because of that. So that does need to be triangles. But maybe if it wasn't triangles, I'll delete that base. Hitting the wrong button. And I'm going to have to curve one of these off. So if it goes off like this, and this one goes off like this, and yeah, this one can. We're gonna have to, yeah, that would curve it away. Fine. I need to do that again to combine these into less. It's like that. It's got a pretty kind of a hole there, which is a bit annoying, but I'm going to get quite messy in this section because I'm going to try that one more time. I think I didn't do it correctly. So I need to go back like, I need to skip one. Do I? I can't. Can't remember. So if that goes like that and then this goes like, no, that isn't how it works. If this goes like that, and that doesn't work either. Because I know that I've got two coming into one on this side. So that's what I'm trying to avoid by just like curving them round. I suppose that is pretty much how it works. That goes like that. And then this comes down. And now I can patch that. I wish it moved a little bit differently than it did. But I guess that's a pretty easy cleanup. And I'm going to try their relax tool again, even though I say I don't like it every time. See, I don't like that. And it's just gone past the hour, so I think I'm going to call it. I don't know how long I've spent retopologizing, but I feel like that's pretty clean looking. I can always lower the amount of polygons around here, but that's just because that was a more detailed space, or it flowed into a more detailed space. And most of the time, yeah, most of the time I feel like a lot of the detail's needed, but maybe I can lower that later on. I'm going to try exiting this. So if I hit escape, nope, exit that. And I think that's pretty good. Yeah, I can always merge things later on. Save. I should be able to just click on that and go. How do I continue? Just double check right now. So if I press create new, is that going to bring me back? Sounds like it's going to create a new one, as it's called create new. did just save, so yeah, it looks like it's not going to use that old one that I just tried. Let me revert this file. Apparently reverting takes a while because it's going to reopen the... It's got to open up a complex file again. Oh well, I think I just select that mesh there, and then I can... if I select the mesh, then I can retopologize on from that mesh. But right now, I'm not sure which way to do it. And that's all from me. Yeah, 2 hours, 2 hour stream. And I'm going to head off. So thanks everyone that stopped by. Anyone that's watching this again later on. Hopefully it's up on my channel and it's all working good. So I'll see you in the next stream where I'll probably just continue the retopology. Not very interesting, but that's just, you know, it's sitting down and doing that. So see you in the next one. Oh, it's just opened. Okay, I'm going to try it. I just did my outro, but I'm going to try it. I think I just select this one and... Okay, no, apparently not. So that's question answered. I don't know how to reopen a target, but on the next stream I'll work it out and I'll tell you guys next time.